Has the Maharashtra election verdict dealt a crushing blow to the narrative that Rahul Gandhi was trying to build against Prime Minister Modi and his government? And has this result infused new energy into the Naya Bharat that PM Modi was trying to build? To talk about the national ramifications of the Maharashtra and Jharkhand results, I am joined on this broadcast by Ajay Alok, national spokesperson for the BJP. Squaring off against him, Supriya Shrineth, chairperson of the social media and digital platforms team of the Congress party. For political perspective, I have Sanjay Jha and Rajat Sethi. I want to go across first to Supriya Shrineth to set up this debate. Post the 4th of June, you, the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, everyone together was trying to build this narrative that PM Modi's graph is on the decline, that Rahul Gandhi's star is on the ascendant, and that 2029 would be an election where the Congress and its allies would come back to power, and this was a government that was essentially on its way out. Given what happened first in Haryana and now in Maharashtra, do you accept that this has come as a crushing blow to that narrative which the Congress ecosystem was trying to build, that this is a government on the defensive and on its way out? Supriya Shrineth, let's start with you.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's a good evening to you, your viewers, and my fellow panelists to begin with. I don't think the truth can be farther from what you just put out. I don't know what your personal view is, or is this the channel's line? I don't know about that, and I'm not here to debate this. But the reality is that the narrative that Rahul Gandhi is mounting, or the narrative that Mallikarjun Kharge ji is mounting, or the narrative that I am trying to say on your channel is a narrative that we are picking from the ground. And on the ground, the situation is very different. One electoral win and loss cannot change the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground is that India in the last 45 years is seeing its highest unemployment. There is huge prices surge that Indians are facing. They're crushed under high prices. The reality is that the gap between the rich and poor has only widened. The reality is that monopolies have been created, and so blatantly created that one of the top businessmen of the country is indicted by a court in the United States. And I don't know what emasculates the BJP and our governance system. Why do they have to stand with a tainted man? So I don't think, the narrative is demolished or destroyed, as you say. Elections are won and lost. We've lost Maharashtra. It has been disappointing. But should I then say that Mr. Modi has been completely crushed and demolished and destroyed in Jharkhand? I'm sure there's a narrative that they wanted to peddle there. That narrative did not work. So I don't think the issues on the ground cease to exist. I will take 1 second to say something that must be said. And I think what needs to be said is that the last 10 years have seen a model of governance. What we are seeing now happen is actually blatant and brazen misuse of power. Not a word on Mr. Adani. The government is asked to debate this under Rule 267 in the parliament. The parliament is adjourned. Why? Why can you not discuss issues of national importance? Is this not an issue of national importance that one of India's top businessmen has been found with his hand in the cookie jar? And the charge is coming from no less than the Department of Justice's grand jury in the United States. It will have very far-reaching ramifications, something that we've discussed on your channel before. So the reality is nothing gets demolished and destroyed by one election win and one electoral loss. That's what I want to say up front.
Rajat Sethi, the Congress's pushback is that one electoral win does not change the ground reality, does not change the narrative. There's also Jharkhand, which was a crushing defeat for the NDA and for the BJP. Rahul Gandhi, Supriya Shrineth and that camp determined to bash on regardless. They're saying, we think we've got a window. We intend to push that through. Electoral wins will come and go. Do you think this is indeed a stunning blow to the narrative that Supriya, Rahul Gandhi and the others were trying to make? Because Supriya is contesting that very vehemently. Rajat Sethi.
Rahul, anyone who is in public life and is raising public issue, the biggest barometer for that is elections. So be it Jharkhand, be it Maharashtra, when you're raising issues, you take it to the public's court and the public delivers justice. If the issues that the Congress party raised, if they do not see semblance on the ground, if they do not get public support, clearly those are non-issues. Secondly, as Madam was just mentioning about Adani issue, In the same US indictment, there have been clear charges against the government of Chhattisgarh. Why don't they start cleaning up the house from within? Why don't they expel Bhupesh Baghel from Congress party? Why don't they expel, the DMK from their alliance and then start talking? The problem is that the inconsistent approach of Congress party. They will talk something, but they will do 180-degree opposite of that. So people don't trust these people. None of the public stands in line and sort of believes in what the Congress party does. Because on one side, they are peddling this narrative in the parliament, and on the other side, their Telangana chief minister is attracting investment from Adani, is donating into Adani. All of the things cannot happen simultaneously. And if they really
Ajay Alok,
they should ask Bhupesh Baghel
Supriya
to step
Sule
out
and the Congress party looking to press home the fact that they want a discussion on the charges that have been framed by a US federal court, saying that why is the government not allowing for a discussion? Is this not worthy of discussion? They're saying election losses and defeat, and now in the past we won one, we lost one. We intend to bash on, and the government needs to explain why it's not open to a discussion on this issue.
Well, Rahul, some people are so obsessed with their own figment of imagination that they don't want to come out of it, and they don't want to connect to the ground. And by the way, let me tell you, this is not a question of one victory and one loss that keeps on happening. Yes, we are in political life. The election will come and go. But consecutively, for the last 20 years, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has lost 89 elections on his own at his leadership. That itself justifies quite a lot of things that what kind of a credibility he holds in the eyes of common man. As far as Mr. Adani goes, the indictment in the US court also doesn't say that he is guilty. Secondly, as today I have read, they are already going to request Government of India for issuing summons to Adani because they cannot do it on their own. They have to use the diplomatic channels. Third thing, it's not only the government of Chhattisgarh in 2021-22 when Congress was there, or government of Karnataka or Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, where all Congress allies were there. So these are the charges that Mr. Adani probably have bribed them to buy the solar power. Well, if these charges are proved in the US court will take their own course. Now, what we have to do as a leader of opposition and in the power, what we have to do, what we are supposed to do. We are definitely going to look into it. And by the way, to her knowledge, I guess SEBI has already given Mr. Adani a notice to reply in a detailed format. If they want to have a discussion in the parliament regarding Adani, there is no issue. We are not running on Adani. Please go through the natural process and give your notices. And it will be accepted in due course by the speaker. It's the domain of the speaker. Why do you want to bulldoze it? That yes, we want this, and then only parliament will function. Why this attitude? And this attitude is nothing new. Since 2018, we have been observing a pattern that before any parliamentary session, something or other comes up. Sometimes it is Rafael, sometimes it is journalist story, sometimes it is Hindenburg, now it is Adani. Every time it's
okay. Hold that. You made some important points. I want to get a counter from Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, Rajat Sethi's argument that ultimately the biggest barometer of whether a particular argument, and Rahul Gandhi took the Dharavi, the Maharashtra versus Gujarat, the Adani issue, all of these to the voters amongst various other issues. And given the scale, the gargantuan scale of the BJP's victory, Rajat Sethi, Ajay Alok argue that that argument has been settled in the public court, that the biggest proof of whether what you're saying is finding traction with the Indian voter, with the Indian public, is in the election result, and the people of Maharashtra have spoken and spoken very convincingly. Sanjay Jha.
Yeah, Rahul, I tend to agree with both Rajat and Ajay that the public voting is a manifestation of the sentiment for or against a party. And by that same logic, let us also agree that in both Jammu and Kashmir and in Jharkhand, the India alliance has triumphed. Now, one can keep debating whether the Congress could have done better in Jammu and Kashmir or not. But the truth is that the BJP has been defeated in Jammu and Kashmir, a very crucial, sensitive state, where it went to town on Article 370, etc., etc. In Jharkhand, let me remind you and the viewers of your program, the BJP ran, perhaps in my opinion, one of the most repugnant communal campaigns, which even forced the handmaiden of the party, the Election Commission, to tell them to remove a video. Worse, their whole infiltration from Bangladesh bogey boomeranged on their faces. So let's agree here. I'll agree with you that the Maharashtra performance, as Supriya has rightly pointed out, is a very, kind of a bad blow for the entire India alliance, particularly the Congress. But you got to move on to 2 points here when we talk of Narendra Modi. Number one, and I'm saying so with a lot of gravitas here, I'm not taking a partisan position, nobody in their right senses can say that the BJP has not but shamed India in Manipur. And I hold the Prime Minister singularly responsible for allowing such a terrible situation to emerge in such a critical state of India, and the BJP seems to be clueless. And the second point, as again everybody mentioned, and I want to counter what both Ajay and Rajat Sethi mentioned, Mr. Adani is a businessman. I've been part of the corporate sector. I've been a banker. The issue that the Congress party is currently raising, if Mr. Adani is doing investments in Congress-ruled states, if the BJP finds that there is a quid pro quo or there is some corruption, seal the deal, freeze the investment. In fact, I would say go and arrest the people if there are politicians or bureaucrats.
No, but that's a question that Supriya Srinath needs to respond to. The BJP is saying if Mr. Baghel is corrupt, why don't you sack him, take action against him? Why don't you leave the DMK? They're saying the SEBI has issued a notice to the group asking for a reply. And Ajay Alok even said that the speaker would in due course accept that there be a debate on this issue. They claim that they're not running away from a debate. They're saying, but why disrupt? He's seeing a pattern of disruption since 2018. Supriya Srinath.
It's a silly argument if there is a pattern of disruption that's being alleged here, and I'll tell you why. It was our insistence on Manipur that finally led to a debate on Manipur in the House. Otherwise, the Prime Minister spoke for 36 seconds. After 76 days, Manipur has now been burning for almost a year and a half. The Prime Minister has refused to appeal for peace or has even refused to visit that state once, where he used to go and peddle his narrative for votes. The reality is in Manipur, people are baying for each other's blood. Your own allies are deserting you. Your own MLAs are asking for a regime change. Your own MLAs are saying Manipur will not be saved if you continue with the same chief minister. You turn a blind eye. That's what you have done to one of India's most precious states. So that's your track record on Manipur. This insistence is important. It's only when we insisted did we finally get a debate on Manipur. And as far as Mr. Adani is concerned, very interesting points being raised here. Now, there are two ways to look at the points that both the BJP spokesperson and the BJP supporter are raising here. Point number one, you are saying that we should be expelling people means you agree that the bribes were given. Because if the bribes weren't given, then why should we do anything to these people? Both Mr. Stalin and Mr. Bhupesh Baghel have come on record immediately the very next day and said it didn't happen in a regime, it happened in the previous regime. We are open to any kind of questioning. Mr. Revant Reddy, who is the Chief Minister of Telangana, received a 100 crore donation from Mr. Adani for a private and public partnership university on skill development. He has returned that money. He has said, I refuse to take this donation in light of the charges, in light of the criminal indictment of Mr. Adani. Now, if Mr. Adani is indeed giving bribes to people who supported you throughout, Jagan Reddy, Naveen Babu, also JNK, which was directly under your control, why are you supporting him? Why do you stand with him? Why can you not distance yourself from a tainted businessman who's getting nothing but disrepute to India's corporate sector, to India's rule of law and order? And as far as the SEBI is concerned, the lesser said the better. We all know SEBI probed Adani for 18 months and finally told in a signed affidavit to the Supreme Court that we have drawn a blank. Only to be found that the SEBI chief was invested in funds connected with Adani. She has numerous conflicts of interest about her ESOPs with a certain bank, about her leases with companies, about her flats being rented out. Numerous cases of conflict of interest. And the last point I want to make, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence wanted to probe Adani on over-invoicing. Guess who stopped them? And guess who tied their hands? Your Ministry of Finance, who refuses to acknowledge anything on Adani. Your Prime Minister, who wants to look the other way the moment you mention Adani. The reality is that this cannot be a figment of our imagination, as you so say. And an election is not a barometer of public performance. If election is a barometer,
Ajay Alok,
is it right for the Prime Minister not to visit Manipur?
Supriya Srinath argues
not discuss unemployment,
that if you want action to be taken against Bhupesh Baghel, before that there must be an inquiry by a government agency which finds evidence. It's very easy to ask for the DMK to be moved out of the India alliance or action against Baghel, but some government agency has to investigate. So they're saying, why can't there be a proper investigation? Why is this sense being sought to be created that the government is coming to the corporate group's defense? How do you respond to that?
Well, the 5 states in question, namely Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Andhra and Karnataka, and of course Tamil Nadu. The 6 states in the question regarding 2021-22 transaction, for which there is an indictment for Mr. Adani in US. Unfortunately, we don't have any case registered in those states. Now, based on a US agency which has filed a case in court, Congress party wants that this thing should be investigated. So we said that all these states and during that period of time were under your rule or your allies' rule. So why don't you get it checked first, whether it happened or not? You will get the answer at the first hand, which you are not ready to do now. You are the judge, you are the lawyer, you will produce the argument and you will give the judgment. And you want the whole country should abide by you because it is said by the Gandhi family. No, madam, this is not going to happen anymore. There is a set precedent, there is a set law, there is a set course that how we are going to proceed on anything. And what you will talk about Manipur, the historic fundamental mistakes what you did in Manipur is in front of everyone. And when it was being discussed in the parliament, you walked out. This is your thinking about Manipur. You walked out, you didn't participate in the discussion in the parliament when Manipur happened. Why didn't you give the notice today on the Manipur? Because you don't want to, you just want to take political advantage of everything.
Rajat Sethi,
do nothing.
Congress seeking to convey the impression that the government and the group are one, that the government is not distancing itself from the charges against the group. They're hoping to press this home. Are you concerned that these charges could build? The more the Congress pushes this point home, the more the government seems to be dilly-dallying, wishy-washy on this, the more problematic it could get.
See, there is one serious approach in which if a case is being built, it can be taken directly to the Supreme Court. You can go against dereliction of duty from the SEBI. SEBI is anyway looking at if the full disclosures have been made in time or not. Those are like tangible things on which you can drag Adani's to the court. They did that earlier as well during the Hindenburg time. And the entire procedures of SEBI were monitored by the Supreme Court. Now, either you doubt every single institution of this country at the behest of the American administration and American Department of Justice, then you're better off going and serving under that administration. Because you have to believe one or the other institution, and the supreme institution being the Supreme Court, you need to have faith in that. Go take the similar case back over there. But why is Congress party hell-bent on disturbing every single parliament session and making it so predictable over and over and over again? 15 important bills are to be discussed in this parliament. Why don't you deliberate over those bills? Waqf bill is with the parliamentary board. Bring your thought process out. Let the public, let the whole nation know about your opinions on the Waqf board. There are other very important bills related to developmental efforts, right from Ministry of Shipping and Ports all the way to Abha scheme of the Ministry of Health, some things which directly affect common citizens like us. But is the Congress party hell-bent on just derailing session after session and wasting taxpayer money and not taking the legal route? And on top of that, all I'm hearing right now, Rahul, is that they are going in circles. They are coming up with all kind of bizarre logic to say that, okay, you will begin the investigation, only then I'm going to ask the DMK to walk out of the India alliance. Come on, you are making walk the talk. You are making the accusations. If you have an iota of confidence in your gut feeling, ask your alliances to break the alliance.
Okay, Supriya Srinath, there is an argument. No, one second, just hear my question and then respond. You can make the point, but just hear my question, ma'am. You can press home the topic or the issue which is important to you. The government's contention, I think the Prime Minister voiced it in the morning. Let there be a debate and discussion. There are many MPs, including those in the opposition, who want to make speeches, make important points. There are bills that will be discussed. The Speaker will allocate time for a discussion on this issue. It cannot be meri marzi. I'm saying that there must be a debate and therefore forget everything else. There must only be a debate on this issue. And if there isn't, then I will disrupt Parliament. That's the argument being made. Let a proper time get allocated for a discussion on this issue and let other work happen simultaneously. Supriya Srinath.
Rule 267 gives you the right to seek attention and discuss a topic. That's what the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, the Honorable Congress President, Mr. Kharge ji, was trying to do. He was told 3 times by Vice President Dhankar that nothing will go on record because he said it's important to discuss Adani. You don't think it's important to discuss a man and matter where countries around the world, some of them friendly to you like Kenya, are cancelling contracts and raising questions on our corporate governance? You don't think it's important to discuss a man and his business practices where Bangladesh court has ordered a probe, or where Australia is ordering a probe, or where Sri Lanka is on alert as far as our own businessman is concerned? You think these are not important things? You think it's not important to discuss what the grand jury of the United States is saying? How stupid and silly is this argument that because we are raising this, we should be there? Exactly the silly argument that they make on Pakistan. Now one should go to America because we raised this. I have one question to ask you, and this question deserves an answer from the Indian government. The more the BJP defends Adani, the more they want to look away, the more they tell us to go to the courts, proves how much their own hand is in that cookie jar with Mr. Adani. Because the reality is, if we were to go to court, then what are you elected for? You've got Department of Revenue Intelligence under you, you've got SEBI that reports into you, you've got institutions after institutions that are supposed to be responsible, that are supposed to look into this matter. Let me mind you, and for your viewers to know, the Security and Exchange Commission of the United States and the SEBI have a bilateral agreement. SEBI, if they invoke the disclosure clause, SEBI will be under oath to probe into Mr. Adani. Why are they not doing it on their own? Why did SEBI tell the Supreme Court we have drawn a blank on Mr. Adani? It's fashionable for you to sit here and say SEBI is looking into it. What is SEBI doing for the last 2 years? All these allegations have been flying thick and fast. The reality is that the BJP doesn't want to talk on unemployment. They don't want to talk about high prices. They don't want to talk about income inequalities. They don't want to talk about crony capitalism. They don't want to talk about Adani monopolies. What do they want to discuss? Everything that suits their narrative. The reality is that there is a state in India where people are baying for each other's blood. People are dying because of poverty. People in this country want peace.
Let Rajat Sethi respond to this. Rajat Sethi, respond to the arguments being made by Supriya Shrineth. Rajat.
There is no argument, Rahul. What do I respond to? I mean, I can't go out and respond to rhetoric. Today, what I'm saying is, you believe in something, you walk the talk. It is as simple as that. You want to put in a notice, you put in a notice in the Rajya Sabha or in the Lok Sabha on Rule 267. The same rule book says that the Speaker of the House or the Chairman of the House can take a decision on that. He took a decision. Why don't you accept that same rule book that you are flaunting? He said that this is not, that is solely his prerogative to decide whether that discussion is to be held during that day or not. And he took the decision. But the problem is that you do not believe and have respect for the institution of the Speaker or the institution of the Chairman. The real problem is that if you want to, for all the other issues, you've gone to the streets, you've gone to the public courts. Public courts have delivered the justice or decision on that. Now remaining is the legal courts. Go to the Supreme Court, or you don't want to go.
What about the public court delivering the justice in Jharkhand?
File a PIL.
Does that justice
Let a common citizen come up and file a PIL.
Does the verdict from Jharkhand not matter? Does the verdict from Jammu
100%.
Kashmir
I am with you. I am with you on that.
What is this rhetoric?
I am with you on that, madam. Please.
The word from Jharkhand doesn't
Allow
matter.
me to finish.
You are not the BJP spokesperson.
Not once have I spoken on top of you. Not once have I. Why are you so rattled, madam?
Okay.
You've just
No, this is not fair. Both faders go down. I can't have both guests speaking. I can't have both guests speaking over each other. That's not how I run this debate. Let Rajat Sethi complete his argument. I'll give Supriya an opportunity to respond. Rajat, 20 seconds.
See, every court of public, be it Jharkhand or Maharashtra, they are showing mirrors to the politicians. Jharkhand has shown the mirror that these are our relevant issues, and Hemant Soren is delivering to our promise. Now, this doesn't shy away from the clean mirror that has been reflected back upon the Congress party, that please stop the nonsense of constantly bringing about Adani issue when your hands are equally meddling in that cookie jar. All your two hands and both the feet are in that cookie jar, and you are very well enjoying the benefits of that cookies also. Now, you cannot come out and take a moral high stand on the same set of issues that you are accusing your opposition or the BJP party of. The problem is that Congress
Supriya Shrineth, very quick counter before I go across to Ajay, Alok and Sanjay Jha. Supriya, you wanted to make an interjection.
I love how so-called analysts want to downplay a verdict that has come in from Jharkhand or Jammu Kashmir or Karnataka or Telangana or Himachal. It doesn't matter what you think. The reality is that the tribals of that state knew exactly what you were going to do with them, what you were doing to the tribals in Chhattisgarh. They knew exactly how the forests are going to be handed over to few of your crony capitalists, and which is why you were defeated. When are you going to understand this? When are you going to understand that the people of this country see through the Adani Modi conundrum? They see through how the BJP is more adamant at defending Mr. Adani than they are at defending their own party. They see through the fact that within hours of Rahul Gandhi doing a press conference on Adani's indictment, the BJP has to jump into the fray to defend him. Why do you have to defend a man who's tainted? Why don't you let agencies act? Why don't you let CBI, ED, Income Tax, SEBI, DRI, all of these agencies come in? Why are you tying their hands? Why are you not letting that case of over-invoicing happen? Do you have any answers to that? The reality, Rahul, is, and I will say this I will say this with great assertion, the reality is that there was no disclosure that Adani made to SEBI about this grand jury indictment. There was no disclosure whatsoever that SEBI made to the stock markets about this. And I think these are things that need to be probed. Why was this the best kept secret as far as Adani and SEBI is concerned? Who is protecting the SEBI chief? Why is she still not vacating office when multiple cases of conflict of interest have been found? We all need to know these answers, because 10 crore investors and their money is at stake, and so is the reputation of our capital markets and our corporate industry. We want to know these answers. Who is protecting them and why? And we all know who's protecting them. We know the Prime Minister stands with Adani, and so does his entire party. That's the reality.
Ajay Alok, respond to why adequate action and investigation hasn't happened in India. You know, if these were charges leveled against an opposition politician, the agencies would have swung into action much faster, much swifter, and people have gone to jail for long periods and been incarcerated on much lesser charges.
Well, Rahul, first of all, when you are speaking, do not demean the courts of this country. Because don't forget, many of the scams have been unearthed by the help of these courts when we were in opposition. May it be 2G, 3G, 4G, Jijaji, Adarsh, everything came through court. The government of the day was not ready to do any inquiry. Let's start with Adani only. Let's start the inquiry. I would like to know which government gave Adani 1 square meter of her land at the rate of 10 paise way back in 1991-92 for starting the Mundra port. In UPA government of 10 years, how much contracts Adani bagged and from where? I mean, it is the party, you guys, who built the Adani, and now you are shifting the blame on us that we are protecting Adani. We are not concerned about the Adani share prices, whether it falls or it goes up. It's not my lookout. My lookout is how a country, in this country, corporate wealth is important. They are wealth creators, it is important, but not at the cost of law. No, we don't do that. And this has been reflected. And that's why Indian economy is doing good. You left it in fragile 5, we took it to the top 5. And now we're going to take it in top 3. Had it been only crony capitalism or complete monopolization of Adani, what you say, this wouldn't have happened. The whole world wants to do business here in India. The capex we have increased to almost 12 lakh crores. These are the things which you don't understand, but it is being reflected on the ground. People are watching it and people are enjoying it. So by merely saying...
Sanjay Jha, while these are important charges and they need to be dealt with in a court of law, the concern for the India story is that this could impact how global investors view the India infrastructure push, whether it's renewables, green energy, or ports, highways, anything. The cost of financing goes up, the cost of risk capital goes up, and that isn't just attacking one particular corporate house. That attacks everyone who's invested in the India story, which is the larger, because one of the concerns is that in the manner in which this case has been built up, the extent to which this could be a hit job against the Adani group, for the fact that they're building up this global operation, for the fact that very clearly in the Western world, there will be operators who won't be happy. Whether it's Haifa, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, there are multiple projects where the group is involved, and there will be operators in the deep state who won't like that. By doing this, we run the risk of tripping global investment, which may be coming into some of these projects without knowing whether or not the case actually reaches the level of conviction or not. Sanjay Jha.
Yeah, Rahul, I usually don't complain, but since my counterpart is Rajat Sethi, please ensure that I have equal airtime to make the point that I wish to make.
Sure.
But I'll try and come to the point immediately. You are absolutely right, which is why I worry why the BJP has become like the PR and legal counsel for Mr. Adani. By the way, I have been part of a bank that had to sell India abroad during the most difficult times. I'm astonished that just because they need to protect the Prime Minister's image because of his extremely questionable proximity to Mr. Adani, the Modi government is compromising the reputational capital of Indian industry, of Indian business. I mean, just think about it, Rahul. If you were a foreign investor, how would you react to the fact that it's not just a Hindenburg report that talked about an accounting fraud, that talked about a stock price manipulation? You have the US SEC, which, by the way, is not like our SEBI. They are truly independent, that have talked about bribery that happened in India that Mr. Modi's government is not aware of, that has talked about an attempt here to mislead the investors in both abroad and in India. And Mr. Modi's government doesn't seem to be concerned. If you hear Mr. Sethi and Mr. Ajay Alok, they seem to be saying everything is hunky-dory, it's going to take its own time. I have a question for them. What was Mr. Modi's CBI, ED and income tax doing when these alleged kickbacks were being done, when these deals were being struck? You're talking about 2,000 crores. You put chief ministers in jail, Hemant Soren and Arvind Kejriwal, but nothing on Mr. Adani. And I have one point that I think Supriya needs to make herself, that if
Rahul, give me 10 seconds.
Government, just a point, Alok, if the Congress government has received investments from Mr. Adani, let the BJP prove there has been a kickback. Mr. Adani may still have multiple businesses that are beyond dispute, but there are many things Mr. Adani has done that definitely need to be probed. And I think the BJP is worried because the way some deals have been given to Mr. Adani, including the Mumbai airport, for example, and several acquisitions will reveal a serious government corporate nexus. And I want to make one last point, Rahul. Please take me seriously when I tell you that. Tell me, does any official have the guts to ask Mr. Adani for a bribe, given his proximity to the government and Mr. Modi? There is a lot more to it than meets the eye. And I can't imagine that the US SEC has gone public with an allegation. A summons for arrest has come for Mr. Adani, but the BJP government seems to believe everything is okay. I mean, this is like a can of worms about to open.
Ajay Alok, your government's motto is na khaunga na khane dunga. When global investors look at India, they expect a level playing field. If this perception is allowed to build that some national champions have the laws skewed in their favor, have the playing environment disproportionately aligned to their advantage, that this would impact how global investors look at the India story, Ajay Alok.
This is what the perception they want to build, but they fail miserably. Because the increase in the FDI, the more new startups, the more new everything business coming up in India, it's just giving them shock because they are trying to build a false narrative which is not being accepted globally. Now, Sanjay Jha in his statement has contradicted himself twice. Number one, he says we are talking of 2,100 crores paid in bribe. That's what the US court meant. Why ED and CBI are not doing anything? That means he admits that 2,100 crore bribe was paid to these 5 state government by Adani. Number one. Number two, he comes and says, which government official has the capacity and authority to take bribe from Adani when he is so close to the Prime Minister? So please be on one line. Don't jump yourself from one post to another post. Okay?
I'll answer that.
Number three, whatever the false narrative you guys are trying to build around Adani, it's not going to harm him. His shares are rising, his value is rising. What you are trying to do, you are firing shoulders, using the shoulders of Adani, and you are firing at the Prime Minister. This is your main motive. You want to demean the Prime Minister's image. It's not happening. That's your problem. That's your frustration. Look at the mandate in Maharashtra. Look at the mandate in Haryana. Look at the mandate in the third consecutive time he has become the Prime Minister. It's not, so your image destroying abilities is not working here. The whole concept, we all know what's happening in the US.
I'm also running out of time, so I need now final words from... I need final words from my guests, and I'll start with Supriya Srinath first. Supriya, You know, you've been a business journalist for a long time. You've seen how most of the Adani chips have recovered on the markets, which would suggest that outside of the politics that's playing itself out, outside of the legal case against these two individuals, the public markets, for what it is worth, seem to have faith in the group and in these stocks. They've come in and invested even at these levels despite these charges. It's not as if like there was after Hindenburg where there's a multi-day lower circuit being hit. The stocks have bounced back quite rapidly, saying that the public markets and Indian investors have faith in the group. I'm out of time, so final word. Suprashane.
Because I have been a journalist and an economic journalist for a very long time, I can tell you that this is a hoax. Because we know exactly how shares are controlled, we know exactly who buys into them to ensure that they don't reach the lower circuit, to ensure that they recover. And LIC and ILNFS, all of these people come to the rescue. Because I've been an economic journalist, allow me 5 seconds to tell you that rhetoric is one thing and facts tell you the other. The reality of the BJP is that for 12 quarters straight, FDI in India has been falling. Less and less people are investing in this country. For a party that got the rupee at 58, you have taken it well close to 85 to a dollar. That's what you have done. 11,000 MSMEs are shutting down every day. The reality is that the India story that you talk about stares at joblessness, at high prices and at gross income inequality. The reality is that Adani at 638 in the world list of rich people was at number 2 thanks to Mr. Modi. The reality is from NDTV to Quint to GVK to Krishnapatnam to Ambuja Cement, every company that he has acquired was raided either by the income tax or the CBI or by the ED. And that is happening at the behest and with the support of Mr. Modi. You cannot look the other way. If you want to debate with me with facts. Don't give me this rhetoric. FDI is coming. FDI is dropping, sir, for 12 quarters now. The rupee is well on its way to hit a century thanks to you. The joblessness is at a 45-year high thanks to you. That's the reality. And you want to whitewash Adani? Whitewash him at the risk of India losing its global destination for investments, its global destination for rule of law. That's what you're doing.
Rajat Sethi, 20 seconds, final comments, and then I wrap up.
Well, let us come out of the la-la land of political parties. The reality remains, an effective smoke screen is to be created to sort of, push the electoral failures or successes behind, and then, keep your flock together, keep your supporters together, and have something to munch over. That's essentially what the strategy is. If I were to talk about FDI, I mean, people who know business and iota of business would understand what are the global cycles which are going around. In the sense, during the COVID time, there was extra money that was being printed, and thereafter a lot of things happened as well. Competitiveness index, the global competitiveness index. Please, madam, keep quiet. Have the decency. Have some iota of respect for your colleagues. Come on. She has this habit, Rahul. I don't know why does she get so restless. I am not even making a political statement here. Why does she always get restless? Rahul, the point is, global competitiveness index is the only objective benchmark on how to measure a country, whether it is becoming more competitive or less competitive. 10 years back or 15 years back, we were not covered in the global competition index. Right now, among the global competitiveness index, we are at 40. We are climbing that ladder. Clearly, the startups have a level playing field today. The big corporates, there is a strategy of national champions in the country. Okay. I personally have an issue that can be debated with it. But competitiveness remains.
Sanjay Jha, final words, 20 seconds. Sanjay Jha.
Yeah, Rahul, I'm seriously concerned. I'm also part of the corporate world in India. And I believe when foreign investors will look at a country, they will say, one, you have a huge businessman with a close connection to the prime minister, no less, a powerful prime minister, who obviously they allow the subversion of law to protect him. And I can tell you, foreign investors look at your business risk and your political risk. Maybe we look politically stable, but it will come across as a high business risk country if people believe we are opaque, if we subvert systems, we don't investigate where there are clear prima facie cases of kickbacks or all kinds of manipulation. This is bad news. And the BJP is doing a great disservice to India Incorporated and to the country's reputation at large. It's not on.
Okay, you've heard from all our guests. As always on the NewsTrack, I don't tell you what to think. Our idea is to provide a platform where speakers can passionately argue their points of view. You've heard different points of view cutting across the political spectrum. I leave it to you, our viewers, to decide who you think has the more compelling argument. Ajay Alok, Rajat Sethi, Sanjay Jha and Supriya Srinath for joining me on the NewsTrack. Thank you very much.